Hi Ty, how are you?
I'm great, Nadia. How are you?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to our afternoon of Slavic housewifedom.
Tell me what you're making, Nadia.
My name's Nadia Sawicki, and I am making ushka, which are traditional Ukrainian mushroom dumplings that are put in borscht, which is
what I'm making. I'm Thai Kojro-Badziak. I am making a golden borscht soup. We are collectively of Slavic descent that shares a lot of parallels, and so it made it easy to do this together.
Yeah, it's odd because, you know, we have the same food, we have the same music, we can pretty much understand each other's language. Like, I went to the Polish store and just ordered everything in Ukrainian.
Right.
And yet, our people pretty much hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's like that whole entire region, like,
everybody hates each other.
Everybody's like the same, regardless of, you know, you share everything and still like, oh,
Ukrainian.
Oh. Ushka literally means little ears, and these are Ukrainian or Polish, essentially little mushroom tortellini. Ushka is a traditional dish for Christmas. I don't think anyone would make ushka at another time. You know, they're finer, they require a thinner dough, they require more coordination to make, and they require a lot of mushrooms as opposed to just potatoes and cabbage, so I guess they're more of a specialty.
It's more of a luxury item.
Yeah. So you finely chop or use a Cuisinart if you're in the 21st century, all those mushrooms. I'm frying onions until brown, and then I'm gonna add the mushrooms, and then you add a little bit of breadcrumbs and mushroom juice at the end and use that as the filling. Then you roll out the dough, cut it up, and make essentially tortellini.
So I am making borscht, which is a traditional beet soup. I've got golden beets, so we're doing golden beet borscht today. Borscht is traditionally served as a vegetarian soup. It's made with a vegetable stock, no meat, on Christmas Eve with the ushka kind of poured over the ushka. So this is a very traditional holiday entree in Polish cooking, and it's also just super comfort food. I'm not doing it vegetarian style. We're using a beef stock today, which we previously made, and basically it's just a couple of carrots, half a pound to 3/4 of a pound of white cabbage, and some onions. I'm gonna take 2 onions and cut them up, and then the beets themselves. My mother was an excellent cook. She was a homemaker, and so she stayed at home, and we ate real food. It wasn't, I don't know, DiGiorno's pizza. Obviously, when I was younger, I didn't cook on my own. I helped a lot in the kitchen. To this day, my favorite thing is stirring. I would always stir for my mother and always stir for my grandparents. So most of my memories are just sitting and watching either my mother or one of my grandmothers cook. As a kid, it's like the one thing you can do to help. You're not gonna screw it up. It's impossible to screw up. You're being useful because stuff needs to be stirred. And so stirring gives you an excuse to be in the kitchen and be where the action is, even if you don't have all that much to contribute as a kid. And make it go. Christmas Eve is a huge big deal, I guess for Poles in general, but specifically to my family. My mom always made sure that we had the whole family together for Christmas Eve. Cooking was an all-day affair and sometimes an all-week affair, and one of my favorite parts about it was borscht. I always loved borscht. I loved the color of it, I loved the flavor of it. It was my absolute favorite thing to eat on Christmas Eve. Most of my memories are just sitting and watching either my mother or one of my grandmothers cook. So my paternal grandmother worked for a number of years as a cook in a Jewish deli, and she made vareniki, pierogies, like hundreds and hundreds of them a day. All right, so you can sort of see the countertop through this and like the flour underneath. So for ushka, you cut the dough into small squares. Okay, so you take a square of dough, beautiful. You take a little compact thing of mushrooms on the spoon, like about that much. Okay. And you fold it on the diagonal, so it's a triangle. You pinch around the edges,
and then when it's sealed, bring the corners together like a little tortellini.
Okay. I mean, there's gonna be some leaks in the ship here.
I will not judge you.
Okay. It's my first one.
I mean, for a first one, look at that. That's very pretty.
Okay.
So this cookbook, I just got it from my grandmother's house a couple weeks ago. It's Współczesna kuchnia domowa, which means mid-century home cooking. What I found really interesting about it is that these, the recipes, like there's a borscht recipe in here that basically says, take beets, put them in water, put that in a corner for 2 to 3 days, and then make the soup. It's an interesting way of cooking compared to the cookbooks that we have today, where it's micromanaged down to the millimeter. So my mom's mom had lived in Poland until she died about 10 years ago, but in the late 80s and 90s, she would come to the States for 3, 4, 5 months at a time, sometimes over the holidays. And so, especially around Christmas or if she was around Easter, cooking was, a 3-generation affair in the kitchen. And my mom was very inventive with food. My grandmother is very traditional with food, and I got to make cookies. So, and then I would also help out extensively throughout. So I learned. I like the linearity of traditions, even though I don't apply them for religious reasons. I like the tradition of making a big meal with my family on Christmas Eve, and we kind of continue that even today.
So I have here a box of recipes and recipe books that belonged to my great-grandmother. And you look at this stuff, and there's just, this teeny little beautiful handwriting. There's a lot of different ones of these with different handwriting, so some of them my great-grandmother had, at some point they had a cook. And so I'm sure that some of these are written by the cook. This is obviously, I need to get this down really fast because it's just completely scribbled. When you come from a culture where, your family is here because they fled here and they took what they could, right? They did not have a lot of stuff. They packed some bags, they were traveling. My parents were both born on the way to America. So my grandparents were leaving Ukraine. My mom was born in Austria. My dad was born in a displaced persons camp in Germany, right? So there's not a lot of stuff that you bring back with you, and so that's why this kind of stuff is important, and it's nice to have.
So they're just gonna go into the water, and see how they sink to the bottom there? So they're ready when they start floating. It's super fast to cook. You cook it for maybe 3 to 5 minutes. So the typical way of doing this is you get 3 or 5 ushki in the bowl. Soup is easy. Delicious. And then you ladle your soup in over this. And that is that. Ta-da! It's got a nice little tooth to it.
Oh yeah, and then the mushrooms too.
Aren't those amazing?
That's really good.
Those are delicious. Very earthy. Voila.
Nice job.
Yeah, well, we know what we're doing.